Time to break down the NFC West. We still have to do some AFC predicting, but I thought I'd jump over onto the other side of the fence today because of the Brock Purdy contract extension and what that might mean for the Niners, what it might mean for the West, and I think it's just fitting to do the NFC West predictions. We're going to do records. We're going to break down all four teams and their record. We're going to go through every Impact Fantasy Football player and project what they could do for the 2025 season. The Fantasy Football Show, Brock Purdy getting paid. Is it a mistake? And the NFC, who's going to win the NFC West? Who's going to win the NFC West? That show begins right now. File on in.
Live from the FantasyFootballShow.com studios. It's the Fantasy Football Show. Live! Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Smitty is also live whenever news breaks.
Now, it all starts with this news right here. We already went over a whole show dedicated to it, so we're not going to beat a dead horse on it. Brock Purdy getting a $265 million extension, one that pays him $77 million in a bonus, $181 fully guaranteed. The Niners just spending money left and right, just handing them out. Like my boy Lloyd Christmas, shout out to C Mac who did a little post on this on Instagram, just handing out money. There you go, there you go, there you go. CMC, oh, we'll pay you for what you did in the past. George Kittle, here you go, here you go. Brandon Ayuk, you want $30 million a year? Here you go. Let's let all the good players go on the defense. Let's take half this team away from Brock Purdy. Let's not draft any offensive linemen. Then let's sign the man to $265 million deal. We're going to break down all of this inside of the NFC West predictions. So let's go straight to the NFC West prediction board. And let's kick it off with the Rams, who I believe will probably win the division. They've got Davante Adams. They've got Kyren Williams, who's going to be in his bag like normal. They backed him up with Jarquez Hunter, who's the true backup in time in LA. Not going to be Blake Corum, even if it is in the beginning of the year. By the time, and hopefully knock on wood, we never need to see the day where Kyren needs to be sat a game or two. But if the day ever came, it'd probably be later in the year when Jarquez Hunter would take over. This is going to be an entertaining NFC West predicting show. And so let's just break it straight down to, let's go to the wide receivers first, which will help, I think, tell a story and narrative of what Stafford's capable of doing in this upcoming 2025 fantasy football and NFL campaign. If we go to Puka Nakua's stats from last year, which are going to be not necessarily something that I think, is going to paint the right picture, the exact picture. Actually, start with Adams, because Adams did play an entire whopping 14 games last year and brought us a stat line that looks a little something like this. Let's go to the board, and we see an 85 reception. Let's get a little focus here. Focus. What is going on with the marker board? Damn it. Damn it. Can we get Jameer? Can we get a little help? Focus on Jameer. Focus on a winner right here. I don't know what's going on with my damn. Let me have to autofocus this thing. This stupid camera, I need to replace it because it's having some major problems. And I don't know if I can manually fix this. Let's see if I can manually fix it. There we go. Okay, so this is Davante Adams, D. Adams. Let's write Adams. Adams projection. Okay, we're going to go off last year. He had 85 receptions for 163, and he had 8 TDs. Now, this was a year where he played the 14 games. I'm sorry. Let's see here. Let me go to his game log. Damn it. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So played the 14 games, 85, 10, 63, 8 TDs. I think if we look at previous seasons and we say to ourselves, Devontae Adams dropped with a 17-game season the year prior, 103, 11, 44, and 8 TDs. The year prior to that, he had 14 TDs, 15, 16, and 100 receptions. The year before that, he had 123, 15, 53, and 18 TDs. I certainly don't think we're getting the 18 TD guy. I don't think we're probably getting the 14 TD guy. But I also don't think we're getting this 85, 163, and 8 TD guy. I think we're looking at something along the lines of this number here. I'm okay and comfortable just cementing this in. I don't think we need to get cute and reinvent the wheel in terms of Adams' predictions. Let's call it 100 receptions. Let's call it 11, 10 in terms of yards. You could just call it an even 1,100 if you want to just make it simple. And 8 TDs. I think 8 to 10 TDs is possible in this situation. In fact, you know what? Let's go up a little bit. Let's go 10 TDs, because you know what I think? I think Puka Nacua misses time. And the games that this man, Puka Nacua, misses time, this man's going to step up and be a top 5 to 7 wide receiver per start. So you add in 4 or 5 games of being the number one for his offense. You add in the rest of the season, and you come up with a 100 reception, 1,100 yards, 10 TD outing. And even if it is something along the lines of like 10, 50, let's say it's 10, 50, and let's say it's 92 receptions and 8 TDs, this would be his floor. That would be his absolute floor. 90, we'll call it 90, 10, 50, and 8 touchdowns, or even 90 and 1,000 and 10 and 8 touchdowns. That is his floor. His ceiling is in the 100 to 110 reception area, 1,100, and probably anywhere from 10 to 12 touchdowns. I think Adams is going to have a fantastic season. And the more I look at this, the more I want to project him to have a higher total. I feel like Adams, looking at this situation, I feel like Adams is underdrafted in some context. I don't think he should be going in the second round. I'm not saying that, but he's going sometimes in the 4th round in grandma leagues, and that's a home run. You could get Puka and Adams if you wanted to. I don't even think that's crazy. I think they're going to throw enough in this offense, which will bring us to mother freaking Stafford in a little bit, by the way. Let's go over to Puka Nacua, who played a 11-game season, and Nacua is a concern because Puka is always going to be an injury risk. Why do I say that? Not because I like throwing around loose predictions and be a reckless wild man with predicting injuries. Like some people said, predicting injuries on the last show was wild. Predicting future injuries is wild. You let us worry about that, pal. Okay? Puka Nacua plays more aggressive than any player in the league. He puts his body in compromising situations. So missing probably, I would say, 2 to 3 games seems like a near lock to me. So if he misses 2 or 3 games, and we look at his previous season where he had 105, this is Puka's big-time monster rookie season, 1486 and 6 touchdowns. This was his breakout year. I doubt he replicates it. Maybe he gets 7 or 8 touchdowns in a season, but it's going to be more like 1,200, 1,300 yards, or could be 1,400 even. 100, 1,400, and maybe 6 could be something he could do in a healthy year. I think Puka Nacua missing time. He had 990 yards last year, 3 TDs, and 105. I think he has, let's give him 115 receptions. Let's give him 1,230 yards receiving, and let's give him 6 touchdowns. I think this makes sense. If I told you this stat right here, you would be blown away. Puka Nacua has played 2 seasons. Puka Nacua has played 2 seasons. Puka Nacua has played 28 games. Puka Nacua has played 28 games, and if I told you this, you would be baffled. If I said your life is on the line, does he have double-digit touchdowns on his career yet or not through 28 games? You would say, if you didn't know the stat, you'd go, he'd have to, right? 28 games. He's played 28 games. He'd have to have at least 10 touchdowns, right? No, he doesn't. He has 9. Puka Nacua has 9 touchdowns on his career. 9 touchdowns in 28 games. Not trying to diminish Puka Nacua's value. He's a PPR machine. He's a monster. He's an athlete. He's an athlete. He's a Rudy Rudiger. He's an inspiration. And I love Puka Nacua. But he only has 9 touchdowns in 28 games. To suggest that this is an off-base touchdown projection with Adams in town, I don't think it's that crazy. This is still a very good year, but this is packaging in a 2 to 3 missed game situation. 115 receptions, even missing in 2 or 3 games tells you how amazing he is. 1,230 yards, and then this problem here where it's just not really his wheelhouse yet. Could it become his wheelhouse? Certainly, but the man does not even have double-digit touchdowns in 28 games. So why are we going to guarantee or expect more than a 6 TD season? This is a safe call. Now, 6 TDs for him, 10 TDs for Stafford. That is only 16 TDs. It's not like Stafford has to support these two monsters, has to have some sort of 35, 40 touchdown season. So if we go over to the staff man and we try and say, what is Stafford going to bring to the table? And hopefully he stays healthy. Let's take a gander at what he did last year. I like to use projections, and I always make fun of content and people that just use last year's data. But you always want to look with projections over the course of the handful of years that they bring to the table, because a lot of times you don't have a lot of outliers from a guy like Stafford who's played 16 seasons. But this is a year where I do believe we're going to see an uptick because of Adams. And if we look at Stafford, last year he was 37, 62, and 20 TDs. And he played 16 games. The year prior, 15 games. And he had 39, he had more, 39, 65, and 24 TDs on less games. Missing essentially, 2 games. Then the year prior to that, Stafford played 9 games. So missing time is becoming, he only played 9 games. The year prior, 17, 16, only played 8 games that next year. So missing time, he is on a playing 2 years healthy, missing half a season. Playing 2 years healthy, missing half a season. 2025 is not lined up well. But let's assume he doesn't follow that trend. And he brings to the table a 3,900 yard season. And I think he can top his 24 touchdowns from 2023. So 20 touchdowns in 2024, 24 in 2023. I'm going to give the man 28 total touchdowns in 2025. And let's give him 39.65. Let's give him 39.65. Let's give him a interception total of, let's call it 10 INTs. And let's give him rushing. He doesn't rush much. He rushes for like 40, 50 yards. I'm not even worried about that. He's got 1 rushing touchdown over the last 8 or 9 seasons. So there's no rushing affair here with Stafford. Stafford gets it done. 39.65, 28 touchdowns, which is an uptick in his touchdown total. He could be someone that gets 30 TDs, no doubt about it, especially if Kyren starts pulling in more. But again, between Adams and Puka, you only have roughly 16 TDs anyway. So you've got a whole bunch of wiggle room to get some to Kyren, to get some to Higbee, to get some to the rest of the receivers, to Atwell, whatever the hell you want to say. Let's go over the Kyren Williams projections. Kyren is the man of the hour. Kyren Williams to the moon.
He's Kyren, he's 7 feet tall, and he knows how to handle a ball. He's Kyren, he can take frowns and turn them upside down with his touchdowns.
So Kyren Williams, we're going to say drops. He's such a monster. Coming off a running back 7 season last year. Coming off of 16 games that he played. Didn't miss any time other than, sitting the man. 12 and resting him in week 18. 1299, 14 TDs, 316 rushing attempts. And this is a 4.11 yards per carry, which is not great, but keep in mind he was 5.02 the year prior. So this right here, for anybody that thinks Kyren Williams is not efficient or they just gave him volume, he's not that good, you don't know what you're talking about. You're just chirping and you're repeating. You heard this from somebody else, so you're repeating it. He's a 5-yard per carry running back the year prior. The offensive line got banged up. This is arguably the heaviest offensive line in the National Football League. It got injured really early on. Then you had Kupp get injured. Puka got injured. This whole team was just leaning on Kyren for a big chunk of time. So it was 8-man front, but they still gave it to him. He still delivered. He was low efficiency at 4.11 on the year, but he was very effective. And the year prior, he had 1144. So I'm going to say Kyren Williams, let's give him just another yard than he had last year. 1 single yard, 1,300 yards rushing. But let's do this. This is going to be, I think, a eye-opening thing right here. 1,300, actually give him 1,350. 1,350 yards divided by 4.9 yards per carry is 275 attempts versus 316. So a massive offload of some of the carries. 275 carries is all that's needed for 1,350 if he's averaging 4.9 per carry, because Adams is stretching defenses or spreading defenses out. Puka's stretching it. Adams is spreading the defense out. And you've got so much more of an effective offense that lives near the red zone. Now, this is where it gets beautiful. Kyren Williams, in this situation, I do believe Kyren catches more passes than he did last year. Potentially has his best receiving season because he's used less and he's more efficient here. I think Kyren Williams, who only had 34 and 32 receptions in his previous 2 seasons, I think he catches 42 balls in 2025. Instead of having 182 and 206, I believe he has 295 because it feels right. Instead of 2 receiving touchdowns and 3 receiving touchdowns, we're to give him 3 TDs and 14 touchdowns on the ground. He's going to live in the red zone. 15 rushing touchdowns. 3, it looks like 37. You know what? Let's give him 2 receiving. Let's give him 3. He deserves 3. 3 TDs receiving. That gives him 18 total touchdowns, 42 catches, which puts him in a respectable PPR situation. 1,350 on the ground. Even if we go 1,300, 1,300 even. Even if we went 1,300 even, 1,300 divided by, what do we say, 4.9? Divided by 4.9 is 265 carries. So now he's at 265 carries, 42 receptions, 1,300 yards at 4.9 a pop, and 18 total touchdowns. He's a top 5 running back.
You've just been Smitty approved.
Let him cook.
Rams 12-5.
Let's go! Mashed potatoes!
Yeah, buddy. Division win. Division win. Cardinals. I don't know if you guys notice here, but I got this thing in order here. I've got it in order of how I see the finish in the division, and the Cardinals are second. The Cardinals are a gritty team. You ask any player, especially Niner players like Debo and the boys, and they say the Cardinals are just gritty. They, even if we end up beating them, it's like they won't go away until the very end. And they didn't even have an identity last year. They're a gritty team. They fight. They're scrappy. And the defense wasn't where it needed to be last year. The offense, in turn, as a cascading effect, wasn't where it needed to be last year. The defense, they drafted Will Howard. They grabbed Nolan. This is a fantastic defense walking into 2025. Gannon, defensive-minded. Let's get it done, right? Let's make this defense an absolute monster, which is going to feed into the offense. It's going to cascade and reciprocate back and forth, and then the Cardinals are going to have better field position, living in the red zone more frequently, which is going to feed into the emergence and breakout season of Marvin Harrison Jr. Kyler Murray is in a good headspace. He is watching film, studying film, consuming rookie content. He said he watched every big-name rookie's film over and over, knows them all frontward, backward, which you might say, well, what good is that? Shouldn't he be studying the current players in the NFL? He does. But what he's trying to tell you in a very impressive fashion is that he wants to know who he's going to be going up against. He wants to know what rookies will have an impact. He wants to know that if this is so smart of Kyler, and I'm very impressed by him. I'm a big Kyler hater from a couple years ago, but I'm starting to really get excited about this 2025 campaign. And he was everybody's favorite darling top 5 to 6 quarterback last year. Don't act like you didn't have him in the 5 to 6, 5 to 7 breakout range. You did too. We all did. And he failed us. But we can either just get mad about it and not draft him because we're hurt and we're in our feelings, or we could say to ourselves, Kyler Murray studying every single rookie, all their film, knows them back to front to back. Why? Because when he lines up against them, as he watches film, as he studies the defenses finally, he really is digging into it. He knows that this is a rookie that's on me, but they're good. And I can respect them, and I need to respect them, and I'm going to go in this direction, or I'm going to know what I'm facing. This is a rookie that I think is very vulnerable. I'm going to expose this rookie. Kyler's all over it this offseason. And he said, and MHJ said, and Gannon said, and the entire staff said, that Marvin Harrison Jr., it didn't click for him until about midseason, a little after midseason, where it just started to click. And sometimes that happens. The speed of the game's different. He looked great in the early part of the season. Then he had a big gap in production. Then he did well again at the end. Marvin Harrison Jr., 800 yards, 8 TDs. Wasn't that bad. 8 touchdowns for rookies. Pretty good. Puka Nacua has never gotten more than 9 touchdowns on 28 games. Marvin Harrison Jr. had 8 in his rookie year. So let's give Marvin Harrison Jr. a little more respect than I think he's getting. He had 8 touchdowns as a rookie. I think the Arizona Cardinals are going to be a very, very competitive team this year. I think the Arizona Cardinals, while they don't win their division, there is a strong shot that they grab a wild card spot. We'll have to break that down as we do the entire NFC, because I don't have the wild card answers now because I haven't done the predicting. I think the Cardinals are 11-6. I think the Cardinals have a very, very good season. I don't think they win their division. I think that because it's such a close-fought battle in this division anyway, this is good for Week 17. There's no sitting. There's high competition. Everybody's going to be fighting it out. And if we go look at the Week 17 schedule and we see Arizona Cardinals at the top, they play the Cincinnati Bengals in Week 17.
Let him cook.
I love that. I love that's going to be a shootout potentially for the Cardinals. Hopefully it is for the Bengals. We did the Bengal projections yesterday, and I got to say, I don't know. I think this comes down to a hard-fought battle in this division as well. with the Ravens at least. I don't think the Steelers have a shot. I don't think the Browns have a shot, but I think the Browns have a shot at beating the Steelers, to be honest with you. I think the Steelers could be 7 wins, 6 wins. I might even dumb this down to 8 and 9 right now, because the Steelers, as we mentioned yesterday, are just in a world of hurt. Let's put them at a losing record. Tomlin has a losing record. He steps away from this organization, goes in a different way because they don't want to fire him. I'm going to move this right now to a 8 and 9 record for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Tomlin walks away after this season. Anyway, but the battle between the division fighting Ravens and Bengals keeps this week 17 matchup against the Cardinals maybe in play for both teams. So week 17, top right corner at Cincinnati. That's the Cardinals. That means that we have probably a solid week 17 battle of nothing but fantasy football glory.
Let him cook.
Let's get into some predicting for the Arizona Cardinals, shall we? Let's talk about MHJ while we're on the topic of MHJ. MHJ walks into last season as a rookie, high expectations. Everybody and their mother is got, enormous expectations for him. He's going to be the best wide receiver that ever graced the earth, and he finishes with a wide receiver 29 season, which was just despicable given the cost of entry this man cost every one of us. And I admit I was too high on him. I'll take an L on that. We thought he was going to be a top 15 overall player, top 12 overall player. He was going so high. He walks away with 62 receptions for 885 and 8 TDs. That was, again, better than I think people give him credit for. But here's the kicker. Let me ask you a question, and he won't get mad. Does MHJ look like a guy? Let me see if I can find his mug real quick. I'll put his mug on screen. Just be honest. I don't think he'll get mad. Does this look like a guy that doesn't catch footballs to you? Does this look like a guy that drops the football? Does this look like a guy that you can't trust to catch a football? I don't think so. He had 116 targets. 116 targets. Just for a reference point, let's go to let's see here. Let's find a wide receiver like BT. BT had 87 receptions and had 133 targets. This is wild to me that this man had 62 receptions but had 116 targets. So I think when that accuracy and connection builds this year, and these Kyler and MHJ start getting on the same page, because it's not all Kyler's fault, it's not all MHJ's fault. MHJ's not dropping balls, but I think what we end up happening is we get what should have been like an 80 reception season out of this guy. This is probably what he should have had last year. Even if we leave the TDs alone, this is what Kyler and MHJ should have had cooking, with some catchable footballs, etc., etc. I think that we're looking in 2025 at a 90 reception season, a 1,200 yard season, and I'm going to say 11 to 12 touchdowns out of MHJ. Let me rewrite this because that's crammed. 11 to 13 TDs out of MHJ, who had freaking 8 as a rookie in a very bad season. I think this target versus reception ratio increases. Clearly, a lot of Kyler, a lot of offense play calling, a lot of reasons why I think that these two didn't connect, even though the targets were there. 116 is a lot of targets. Getting 62 balls off 116 targets, there's something wrong there. There's obviously a disconnect, whether half of it's Kyler accuracy problems or whatever. It's a disconnect. Kyler Murray is one of the best quarterbacks in the National Football League at throwing outside of the pocket. So MHJ, I believe, can be one of the best receivers in the National Football League. at catching the football from his quarterback when his quarterback is outside of the pocket. That is where this improvement needs to take place. That is where 120 targets turns into 90 receptions, or 126 targets turns into 90 receptions, or 120 targets turns into at least 85 receptions, is when you have Kyler Murray and MHJ figuring that part out, having the play calling mirror that, and you've got this guy dropping 1,200 yards in 11 to 13 touchdowns. So this is what we got out of MHJ, top 10 wide receiver breakout 2025. Wilson, I think Wilson, this is a guy that Kyler Murray has why can't I write tonight? Wilson's a guy that Kyler Murray said could have 1,000 yards this season. I would say give him 990 and 6 TDs. Wouldn't be shocked if he had 1,000 even. That's not that much, with the extra game now. It's really not that hard to hit 1,000 yards. 1,000 is 6 TDs for Wilson, who I think is a really good receiver. McBride is a phenom. McBride was tight end number 2 last year by just a little bit. These guys, Bowers and McBride, are within 10 to 15 points. They're going to be till the remainder of time. They're just that good. Either one could outscore the other. I don't want to hear for a second that McBride can't be better than Bowers or Bowers can't be better than McBride. That is just nonsense. That's just silliness to start acting as though you've got a situation here in McBride's that can't be better than Bowers. Bowers might be maybe a tad more talented to some, but I disagree that these guys can't be near identical players year in and year out. Where's my damn McBride graphic when I need it? McBride, here you are. I'd like to have you on screen while we talk about you, pal. McBride pulled in last year 1146 on 111 receptions, but he only had a measly 2 TDs. The year prior, he had a measly 3 TDs. The year prior, 825 yards, but remember that he came on at the end of the year, and so you can't even really use this stat line as any sort of predictor unless you're extrapolating, but we don't need to extrapolate because we know what he is. He's a 100 to 110 reception tight end that plays tight end, but he's really a receiver. He's a 1,100 yard to 1,200 yard catcher for 100 to 100 and we'll call it 15 receptions. This is his range. You have McBride very capable of this range right here. The question is, what's his actual touchdown range? Is it really 2? No, it is not 2. Is it 10? Maybe he can't get there because of Kyler. I don't know, but I tend to think that a 7 to 8 TD mark is very much in the cards, even in a struggle bus year for Kyler to connect with him. I think this is an anomaly. I think this has to do with field position. This has to do with what I talked about earlier, where the Cardinals don't have good field position and they can't reciprocate with the offense and the defense and the back and forth. And putting this team in the red zone more often is how you get to this number with a guy that catches this well. This is not his problem. McBride isn't a 2-touchdown guy. You think this monster can't catch double-digit touchdowns if he's fed properly? Really? I've got a bridge to sell you. And his quarterback play is good enough if the defense improves, which it has, and the field position's there. And the red zone is where they live. To me, this seems like a cakewalk. Cakewalk. 105 to 110 reception total for, let's call it 1150, and let's call it 6 to 7 TDs on a disappointing touchdown season. This is where he should fall when things aren't going crazy. His ceiling is 10 plus TDs, but we're going to give him his floor because he hasn't even reached his floor touchdown total yet, so it's fair. Give me 105, 11 to 1150, 6 to 7 touchdowns. Arguably tight end number 1. Of course, Bowers will be right there with him, but I do predict that McBride finishes maybe 4 or 5 points ahead of Bowers this year. McBride, tight end 1.
You've just been Smitty approved.
All right, so that leaves us with Kyler. And when we say that we've got what do we have? 11 to 13 TDs. We'll just call it 12 going to MHJ. We've got, let's call it 7 going to McBride. We've got, let's say, 4 or 5 going to Wilson. Another, 3 or 4 miscellaneous there, on top of that. So you're looking at a potential 24, 25, 26, 27. Quarterbacks, Kyler Murray. Let's just take a look at what he's been doing over the course of his career. Kyler was QB 11 last year. Disappointing season. Historically, he has had 21 TDs, and then he had missed games in 2023 and 2022. So staying healthy is a concern for Kyler. He's only played a healthy season. He's only played over 11 games one time in the last 3 years. He only played 8 and 11 the 2 prior seasons. So kind of a concerning, situation, and it makes it hard to predict numbers for him. Before his injuries, he was 20 TDs, 26 TDs, and 24 TDs. Last year, he was 21 TDs. So I think 26 being his high, given that this all kind of adds up, I think 27 TDs for Kyler in a kind of breakout year for him where the defense finally supports him. I think you could even say 28 total passing touchdowns. So 28 passing touchdowns given this divide here to those wide receivers. Kyler Murray having a 3,700-yard rookie season, 3,900 yards, 3,700 yards. Last year, 3,800 yards. Very much capable of a 3,900-yard season without even projecting some sort of huge, uptick. 12 INTs, 12 INTs, 10 INTs, 11 INTs. The two missed seasons, I'm not really extrapolating. So we're going to give him 10 INTs. I think that's very understandable. So then it comes down to his rushing. Look at this. Rookie year, 4 rushing touchdowns. Second year, 11, then 5, then 3 and 3 during the injured seasons, and 5. So his 2 most recent healthy seasons, if you take out the 2 injured 2023 and 2022 seasons, he's only gotten 5 rushing touchdowns in each of those, but he did have the 11 touchdowns a year prior. I'm going to give Kyler Murray 6 TDs rushing, which is just 1 off of his average. He had 572 yards rushing last year. His last healthy season, 418. Before that, 423, 819, 544. Let's give him 540 yards rushing. This is a half a running back right here. This is a very solid passing quarterback right here. This gives you number 6 to 7 QB numbers in 2025 Kyler Murray. This is a fantastic quarterback. This is a guy that is going to live near the red zone. This is a guy that's going to feed McBride. This is a guy in Kyler Murray that I believe has tons of hidden appeal from people that are going to run away from Kyler based on his, understandably run away, based on his very, very bad 2024 campaign. That the expectations were to the moon. It was a top 5 season or fail. And he failed because he was QB number 10, 11, depending on your scoring. I think what people expected Kyler to do last year will happen a year late. Those that invest in him and Dak Prescott as a 1-2 punch for your 1 QB leagues will absolutely flourish. I think early quarterback is still the way to go, but if you get sniped or miss out, guess what? Kyler and Dak are there to save the day. These are 2 very, very good top 6 to 7 capable fantasy football quarterbacks that come at a discount, and people are going to completely overlook them.
You've just been Smitty approved.
A lot of people are going to say what I see a couple of you saying. I'm just not doing it. I'm not going to get burned again. I'm not investing. Let me ask you a question, my guys that are out there doubting Kyler Murray right now at a serious, unreasonable rate. What's his ADP? His ADP last year was like the 5-6 round territory. Right now, he's trash. You can get him deep in a draft. You don't have to draft him in the 4th or 5th round. You're taking him much later than that. The upside is there. The risk is baked in. There's no sort of concern about risk being not baked in. It's totally baked in. This is a player that gives you literally no risk whatsoever. So Kyler Murray, you can invest in him without any of those concerns that you're carrying over from last year's ADP. Let go of last year's ADP. This is like Breece Hall people going, yeah, Breece is a risk, man. You can't, I don't know if he can be a top 5 running back. You're not drafting Breece Hall as a top 5 running back. His ADP is 4.1. You're not drafting Kyler Murray as a top 5 quarterback. His ADP is far past 5 and 6 round territory. So think what you want on Kyler. Really, there's no risk at all. If I'm wrong, I'm not even wrong. If you're wrong, you might have missed out on a league winner at almost zero cost of entry, or at least almost near zero risk. We got the Niners who signed this quarterback, Brock Purdy, who I don't think is a bad quarterback, but he hasn't earned this at all, and the Niners had him under contract. This was the dumbest move the Niners could have made. And my boy C. Mac, who's a part of the Quad Box, believes and agrees with me 1,000%. You make him play his last year out, given he didn't earn this in 2024, which wasn't all his fault, but he didn't earn it. Not to mention, you want to do your very best to reset the time frame in contract years. So if you make him play on his last remaining year, and you tag him next year with the intention of giving him a long-term deal, but you tag him, he's going to get handsomely paid if he doesn't work out a deal, and then you sign him then, and you have your 5-year deal after you've rebuilt this year. Or you try and win with your window open, you don't let half your team go, and you keep Purdy on the 1-year deal. What's Purdy going to do, hold out? Can't hold out. He's got no leverage. He's the last pick in the draft. He's got no leverage, and he didn't prove himself last year. Not to mention, you have no leverage when you're under contract, and you can be franchise tagged the next year. There's no, I'll hold out and just go be a free agent. You're not. You're going to get tagged next year no matter what. There's no holding out. Niners screwed up here royally, and now we go over to the schedule, and we say, okay, everybody's talking about it. The Niners have the easiest schedule in the NFL. And now they punted their season away and they flushed their cracked open window for a championship down the toilet during a year where they're given such a great opportunity to win games. This is a team that I believe could still muster up a 9 or 10 win season given their schedule, but it's also a team that could get swallowed up if they can't protect Brock Purdy and he ends up getting hurt because they didn't draft a single offensive lineman. This team is aging out. George Kittle just got paid. He's getting older by the minute. Christian McCaffrey got paid, then broke last year, and they think he's going to be healthy and amazing this year. You got a bad offensive line. How is McCaffrey even going to navigate? You paid Ayuk $30 million, who's not even your number 2 wide receiver anymore. If Ayuk came back today and could play week 1, which he won't be ready for week 1, if Ayuk could play week 1, he would be the 3rd wide receiver because this team's moved on. And they're paying Brock Purdy, they're paying George Kittle, they're paying Christian McCaffrey, they're paying Bosa, they're paying Brandon Ayuk. Brandon Ayuk's getting $30 million to be the team's 3rd wide receiver. Easy schedule or not, it doesn't matter. Like, people keep saying that. Oh, easy schedule, easy. You got to win games still. You don't just get handed the W before you play the game. You still got to go out there and try to beat these teams with a kind of a circus going on in that San Francisco situation. I'm tempted to say 9 wins. I'm tempted to say 10. I'm in between. It's still going to be a competitive division. You know, the easy schedule does help the Niners compete with the Cardinals. And they're all going to be kind of, 2 games back from the Rams or 1 game back a majority of the year. It's not like the Rams are going to get out to a 8-0 start or something. You never know. But it probably could be a 13-win season for the Rams and it'd be out of touch. But I think I'm going to give them a 9-8 record, which is going to piss off a lot of fans saying, hey, our schedule. Didn't you see our schedule? It doesn't matter. Your schedule can be as easy as you want it to be. Doesn't mean you're winning the games. I think it's going to be a struggle bus year on and off for this team. I'm going to give them 9-8. Cardinals 11-6. Cardinals very capable of being 10-7 though. I'm tempted to do that. Let's go through the Cardinals schedule real quick and see if I'm going to change the Cardinals schedule. And the Niners, if we look at the Niners real quick, let's look at the Niners down at the bottom of the screen. Let me get this red highlight graphic above. Okay, so let's look at the Niners real quickly at the bottom. Seattle, I think this is at Seattle. I think they could win this game because Seattle's getting adjusted. It definitely could be a situation where the Niners either are 2-0 or 1-1, to start the season. I think they could beat the Saints. Let's say they lose at Seattle. They win at New Orleans. That's one win. They lose to Arizona. They lose to Jacksonville. They lose to the Rams. They lose to Tampa Bay. They lose to Atlanta. Let's say they win at Houston. Let's say they win at the Giants. That's 3 wins. Lose to the Rams again. Let's say they beat the Cardinals one time. What is that? What did I say? 1, 2, 3, 4 wins. Carolina's, they're tough. I mean, they could win that game, but let's say they win that game. What is that? 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Cleveland 6. Bye week. Tennessee 7. Indy 8. Chicago up in the air. 9. Lose. Yeah, 9 wins. I think 10 wins is not like a given. This is a 9-win season for me, for the Arizona Cardinals, or for the San Francisco 49ers. Let's go Arizona. New Orleans win. I think they win this Carolina game, but again, Carolina could win this game. At San Francisco, I said earlier, what if they split that or whatever, but I'm going to say the Cardinals are 3-0 or 2-1 at this point. Seattle, let's just say they lose. Let's say they're 2-2 here. There's 3 wins, 4 wins. I think Green Bay's beatable. 5 wins. Dallas, let's say they lose that. 5. Let's say they split this one. There's still 5 wins. 6 wins. Cardinals could beat the Jaguars. 7 wins. Tampa Bay, let's say they lose. Rams, let's say they lose. 8 wins. They could lose this game. They could win one of these. 9 wins. Maybe it is a 10-win season maybe for the Cardinals. Then again, it'd be easy to say win, 3 wins. Lose this game, let's say. 4 wins. 5. 6, 7. 8, 9, 10. Yeah, 10. You know what? I'm going to give them 10. I've done it twice now. And I keep falling short of 11 wins. So, honest is honest. Cardinals 10-win season. I'm changing it. I can't get there. Which is fair. 10-win season for the Cardinals. 7 L's. Let me fix the 7. All right, that seems very fair. Seahawks, I don't know what I'm going to say for the Seahawks. Seahawks are, let's go to the Seahawks schedule and take a look at that. Then we'll go to the Niners and project Niner player outcomes. But Seattle, you got San Francisco. Again, we're going to call that a win. Pittsburgh a win, so 2 wins, 3 wins. Seattle starts 3-0. Seattle could be an early favorite to be the division winner just because of their schedule. San Francisco, Pittsburgh, New Orleans, Arizona. Let's say that they win 3 of those games. So 3, they lose this one. 4 wins, 5 wins. Lose this game. 6 wins. Let's just say they win one of the Rams games. 7 wins against Tennessee. Minnesota could be beat, but they got a good D. They could be beat those. Let's just call it 7 wins still. Atlanta, they could win that or lose that. 7, 8, 9. I'm getting 10 wins. I'm getting 10 wins. I'm getting 9 to 10 wins for the Seahawks, but it's, the part of it is their team. I'm going to give them 9. They could be a 10 win. They could be a 10. The Niners might be the last in the division. I'm gonna say 9. I'm just gonna give them 9. I think the Niners could be either tied or the Seattle Seahawks could actually win some games. The schedule's not bad. So 9 wins and 8 losses for the Seattle Seahawks. Pretty tough division, in a way. This division is not an easy cakewalk. So Cardinals could win 9 games too. It could be one of those years where the Rams just run away with it. I think Seattle could be better than San Francisco this year. The only reason I'm hesitating is because I do believe Sam Darnold does not finish the year. Once we get Milroe in the lineup, this team looks better. I think they are better. So this is going to be where I leave it. Let's go to the Niner projections. We'll open the phone lines. We got 15 minutes in. We're kind of on par for this being about an hour and 10-minute projection from start to finish for a division, one division at a time. Purdy, let's do some Brock Purdy projections. Let's pull up Brock Purdy's recent game log historical data. We're going to go to 2024 season stats and pull up Brock. Brock finished as QB. What was he last year? 22. Brock played 15 games, still enough games to score higher than that. He had 42-80 in 2023, and he had 38-64 passing last year. I think it would not be crazy for him to throw for 4,000 yards. So even if we gave him 4,000, I might dumb it down in a minute. 20 TDs last year, 31 the year prior. I think he gets somewhere in between. Let's call it 24 passing TDs, 24 to 25. He had 11 INTs in 2023, 12 last year. We'll give him 12 INTs again this year. I think there might even say 13 because there's just going to be more trauma to this offense. Rushing yards last year, 323. The year prior, 144. So we'll give him something in between of like 200 rushing yards. 5 rushing touchdowns last year, 2 the year prior. Let's give him 2 TDs again. Brock Purdy has a 26 total touchdown season, 4,000 yards, or even 3,900 to 4,000 yards. It's QB 18, QB 17, QB 15 to 20, depending on how the quarterbacks do, depending on if he gets an extra touchdown or 2 or whatever. This is an okay year. So that means you got 24 TDs to divide up amongst the crew. You look at a guy like Jennings, and he's the number 1 wide receiver on this team. I mean, Kittle is really, if you're talking pass catcher, but Juwan Jennings comes off a pretty solid campaign that was wide receiver 24 when, I think he could have finished higher had he been more of a focal point all year long. Jennings is quite a tough player to rank, but looking at last year's numbers, getting 77 receptions for 975 and 6 TDs, I think this could easily become an 80 and 1,020, and let's call it 6 TDs again, 6 to 7 TDs. It's a very good season. I think 81, 20, 10, 20, and 6 to 7 is doable. Ricky Pearsall, I think you get something around the 70, and let's put Ricky up here. You've got 70 receptions for 980 and probably 5 to 6 TDs. Is he capable of more? Sure. Do I think I would bank on it? No, I wouldn't. 70, 980, 5 to 6 touchdowns. George Kittle from last season, very, very, very good year. Kittle was tight end number 3 in just about every single scoring format, and he had 78 for 1,106 and 8 TDs. I think injuries start to become a concern for him. I don't think that he's going to drop off that much. If we look at previous seasons, Kittle has had moments where he has dipped because the teams asked him to block more. The offensive line's in shambles. They did not address it that well in the offseason. Obviously, they didn't draft anyone. This guy's played 8 seasons. He plays through a lot of injuries, but he does miss a grip of games. The last handful of years, he's been more healthy than he was prior. Played 8 games in 2020. Missed 3 games in 2021. Missed 2 games in 2022. Missed 2 games last year, or sat out 1. So this is a player that easily could get you 70 receptions and get you 10, 40, and get you somewhere between 6 and 8 touchdowns. I think that would be probably his ceiling for me. So I'd probably say if he stays healthy, this is what you expect. Does he miss time? I don't know. And even if, I don't know, for some reason, 72 to 75 receptions is sticking out, 1040 to 1090 is sticking out, 6 to 8 TDs. It just, that's a great year. I'm still drafting Kittle. I'm not running away from Kittle at all. CMC is, on the other hand, somebody that I think we run away from. This is a guy, I don't even know how to project Christian McCaffrey stats. Where do you even begin? You can't look at previous years. You can't write stuff like that down on a board and say, oh, what if? I mean, this is a guy that probably runs for 400 to 500 yards because he can only stay healthy for so long. This is a guy that gets you 4 to 5 TDs on the ground, gets you 2 to 3 receiving TDs if he even is lucky enough to have this kind of year. Does he catch 30 to 40 balls for 300 plus yards and get you those 2 to 3 TDs? Does he somehow get you 5 plus 3 would be 8 in a situation where he plays enough games? Does he get you 8 TDs and 1,000 total yards? I don't think you're getting the old CMC. Even if he played like that for 2, 3, 4 games, he'll have a flare up. This is a chronic bilateral Achilles tendonitis issue for Christian McCaffrey. It's not something that goes away or he's better from. He's gotten all healed up and ready to go. This is a man that literally is the highest percentage of his team's offense in, I think, the last decade of football. And so he will be overused, or if they don't overuse him, he isn't the same player. So there's no real world where I think this works out. The only thing I'm doing here is I'm getting Isaac Guerendo, and us Guerendonites are getting real excited about cuffing James and Guerendo together. This is a must-have handcuff. This is our Guerendo and Mason from last year. This is a league winner. Not every league you can do this in. If you're in a league that allows 4 or 5 bench spots, then you can't have James, but you can have Guerendo. And if you're in a big league or you're in a dynasty league especially, and you can put them on a practice squad, this duo right here is going to bring you glory. This duo, in my opinion, and this is the only way to really project this, I think you get 4 to 5 games of a top 6 to 10 running back. I think you get 4 to 5 games of a top 6 to 10 running back out of this duo, which you can't guarantee how long one stays healthy over the other. I do think this guy is a absolute monster. There's a reason we have Guerendo on the board here.
Well, no going back now. You sure you want to do this, Kyle? Yeah, we have to. Let's go. Start the procedure.
Yeah, John, look at that. Yeah, that looks great, Kyle. Look at him.
Guerendonites unite!
So, at the end of the day, there's not much we can say, like, and try and give you like a season-long projection. The best I can do is tell you this is the must-have handcuff, one of the must-have handcuffs in fantasy football. Move to the number 3 spot. I still got to organize and resort this, but Guerendo, McCaffrey, top 3 handcuff in fantasy football, no doubt about it. and top 6 to 10 running back for 4 to 5 games. That's how much I believe in Christian McCaffrey not staying healthy. And that is the 49ers. And if we roll on over to the Seattle Seahawks, which is such a tough thing to do, can't even give you Darnold predictions because I think Darnold is going to eventually get his job taken from him. So it does no purpose to come out here and try and predict how many games he plays. I think what happens is once Milroe gets in there, is Milroe the kind of guy that can throw for, let's call it, let's give him 3,100 yards pace. Okay. Type of season per, pacing that out. So divided by 17 would be about 180 to 190 yards per game for Milroe. I think this is, if you give this man, let's call it a pace of 20, TDs passing divided by 17 is 1.7. So we'll just call it 1 passing TD per game. And honestly, this man ran for 20 touchdowns at the college level. He ran for, what was it, 800? Was it 800 or 900 yards? Milroe. Let's ask Kruger. Kruger, how many yards did Jalen Milroe run for in 2024 at the college level?
Jalen Milroe rushed for...
Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Jalen Milroe rushed for around 531 yards.
No, he didn't. God.
You got it. Anything else you want to dive into?
No, get out of here. Get out of here. What's he doing? College stats. God, why is Kruger's gotten really, really bad? He's gotten really, really bad at pulling up stats and data. He just can't do it anymore. It's like it's always so off. It was 700 and here, let me put up his game log. His game log was really impressive. People that hate Jalen Milroe they're just straight up haters. They don't understand glory when they see it. Jalen Milroe is the next Jalen Hurts. I'm sorry if you don't like that, if that makes you uncomfortable because it's too bold for you. It hasn't happened yet. Why did other teams pass on him? Stop with the uneducated comments. Like, why did teams pass on Tom Brady? Why did teams not draft Kurt Warner? Why did teams not sign Kurt Warner as a free agent? Except for the Chiefs. Or the Rams. Chiefs, I'm thinking Vermeil just because he was over there. 2,844 passing yards, 16 passing touchdowns, 11 INTs. Down there in the 2024 rushing line, 726 and 20 touchdowns. The guy's a monster. Just a monster. So my point is, if he's averaging 1 TD passing a game, he's probably averaging right around 0.9 or 1 TD rushing per game. I mean, let's not call it 17 rushing touchdowns, but let's say he has 12. Let's say he has 12 TDs on the year. Milroe's going to be a force. And what it ends up doing, again, hard to predict anything firm with the quarterbacks. JSN. Let's talk about JSN. What is JSN's stat line going to look like? What is JSN? Gifted memberships by BBQ, dropping 50 gifted memberships in the chat like an absolute straight boss. Guys, please drop a BBQ emoji and a eggplant with it, or a BBQ emoji with a fire emoji. However you feel best describes your emotions for thanking BBQ for dropping those gifted memberships. So JSN, if we go to JSN's stats from last year, and let's just extrapolate those a little bit out, because I think that's smart to use last year. He kind of, had a up and down season, and we think he, obviously can play better than he did. But JSN under a potential quarterback, wide receiver 9 last year, unbelievable year, wide receiver 9, but so much upside. Comes out of this 2024 season with 100 receptions, 1130, and 6 TDs. Honestly, a lot to be desired for. Let's just say he had 100 receptions again with some turmoil and turnover at QB. Let's say he has 1,100, and let's just say it's 1,130 again. Let's say this stays exactly the same. This 6 TDs probably climbs to 8 to 10, 8 to 11 TDs. I don't know how guaranteed I'd be on the ceiling part of that. I think this is a safe assumption. This is a wide receiver 7, 8, 9 overall. So instead of being wide receiver 9, maybe he's wide receiver 7 on the year. JSN's going to have a nice season. The offense is going to be very run heavy, but that's okay because DK's not there, and it's just going to be all fed through. It's kind of like Garrett Wilson. Adams left the Jets. They're going to become more run heavy, but that's okay because Garrett Wilson's the only show in town. Same thing with JSN. I think he replicates this 8 and 11 to whatever, 8 to 11 touchdowns. Kupp, I don't know what to say for Kupp other than he probably pulls in something along the lines of, what did he even finish with last year? What was Kupp's line last year? I don't know, he was wide receiver 46.
Motion detected at the front door.
He pulled in 67 receptions for 737 and 5 TDs. Give him 59, little bit of a downtick. Give him 725 and give him 4 TDs. I want to predict more for him. I think there's upside for more. I think you buy in at the floor. You expect the floor. You hope he has a 965 reception, 7 touchdown season. Don't think it's something to count on. I think you count on this floor, even if it was 50 receptions for 700 yards and 4 TDs. Count on the floor. That's a best ball spike week player, if even that, or a wide receiver 5, 6, whatever. This is a good player. Just, has to prove that at 8 seasons in, at the age of 31, he can do it. 31's a tough year for a wide receiver if you're not named Devontae Adams. If you're a running back, 30's a really tough year for a running back if you're not named Derrick Henry. So Kupp is just kind of it's a tough spot to be in. We talked about these running backs in Seattle, that if you combine and do an overlay of the games played by Walker and the games played by Charbonnet with no overlap in the same week, you're talking about one individual running back that was running back 5 overall. If you take just those green games, the 5 of them that Charbonnet played, and you extrapolate that over 17 games, he was running back 2 or 3, depending on your scoring, with 360 fantasy points. Walker was number 1 in the league in forced missed tackles per attempt. He was number 5 in the league in yards after contact per attempt. This is a very good running stable. They're going to be very run heavy. Walker's a phenom, but can he stay healthy? What are we looking at with Walker and Sharps? To be honest with you, it's going to be hard to make this projection as well because Walker probably misses time. I think that Charbonnet, the real thing that I want to say here is that if Charbonnet is, let's go back to this game log. If Charbonnet is starting games at any point, I think he's, look at this yards right here. 95, 84, 80, 80, 70. I was looking at wrong column. 38 yards, 91 yards, 134 yards, 54 yards, 57 yards. Sharps, to me, per start is going to get you the 90 yards, at least 1 touchdown. So we're looking at a pro-rated season for Sharps in the 100 total yards and 1 TD per game out of this guy. That's what you're getting per game out of Sharps. 100 total yards, a TD. I do think he can do that per start. So this is a standalone monster. It is also the must-cuff running backs on the running back board in fantasy. The most important cuffing group you can get, but the standalone value of Sharps is so league winning that I'm telling you that you're getting these type of stats. You're getting running back top 5 to 6 to top 5 to 7, top 4 to 7 running back numbers per start. It's just really hard to come out here and give you a projection on a stable that will probably be divided at some point through injury to Walker. Do I think Walker can average very similar per game stats? I think he can. I think this is like a 90 to 105 total yard running back that can get you that 0.9 to 1.0 TDs per game. does he start 6 games? Does he start 6 games and then leave the rest to Charbonnet? Does Charbonnet start 11 games? Does Charbonnet start 9 games, 8 games? I think this is going to be in this type of, it's unfortunately going to be this way, where there's like 6 games going to Walker, Charbs gets 11, or let's say this is even 9 games, and you know, it could go 100 different ways. If it was 8 and 9 games or 9 and 8 games, the question is, do you cuff these guys at a reasonable territory to get this 90 to 100 total yards and this 0.9 to 1.0 touchdowns per game? It's really, really hard to say. I think at the end of the day, I try and cuff it in a couple drafts, and in every draft I'm in, Charbonnet's on the team. So if you're drafting in a scenario where I'm drafting, and let's say you don't know me though, you know, or you don't draft with me on the regular, you're not going to know it, but I'm going to take Charbonnet. I'm drafting Charbonnet, and I own him, I think, at an 80% clip in best ball. I don't care. This whole notion that you can't oversaturate on certain players is asinine. I have 80% ownership of Charbonnet in my best ball drafts. 80%, and I'm not stopping. That's not enough. I want 100.
You've just been Smitty approved.
From the FantasyFootballShow.com news desk.
Warning, what you're about to see might be a little bit scary. You might want to turn away if you're squeamish, but this footage has been sent to us from a local Phoenix resident. Local authorities are trying to figure out what the sign means. It reads Sharb Season. Unclear as to what that is trying to reference, or if that's some sort of warning. And it's still undetermined where these flying objects are deriving from.
From the FantasyFootballShow.com news desk.
Dial in, dial in, dial in. You've got my answers. You've got my predictions. They're subject to change. I reserve the right to change at any moment, but dial in to discuss what you feel. Let me get these super chats on screen. Terry says, Smitty, let's give Travis some props for all he's done. Absolutely. Travis is a monster. He's eventually going to get his own emoji. Terry's giving you a shout out. Thank you for the $5 hauler, Terry. Daniel, our in-house firefighter, says Niners are the West Coast Dolphins. Owners and GMs are on crack. Absolute dumpster fires. Thank you, Daniel, for your super chat and your service, my man. We appreciate you. BBQ dropping the 50 gifted memberships on top of this $5 hauler because he's a monster. Is the rookie depth causing Walker to drop? In my opinion, he's going to ball out this year and be retooled O-line and scheme. Great value, definitely best cuff. I like Walker. I like Walker a lot. We just put on screen that he's a top 5 running back when cuffed to Charbonnet, and I do draft the duo a lot. And there's a reason they're on this board. If I thought like maybe Walker didn't have the value that I think he does, you might see this even kind of shake out differently, even though it is about the cuff. I just think that at the end of the day, if you don't have them cuffed, you are potentially punting your season away. The best way to answer this question, BBQ, is to say this, that do I think Walker alone is going to win you a league? No, I think he has the chance of making you look fantastic for a grip of games, but then he has a big risk, red flag type of a value attached to it that could make you lose your league. If you've got Walker and Sharps cuffed together, Walker becomes an asset who's supported and backed up. If you've got the duo, you can win a league with the duo because the duo just got, as I mentioned, top 5 running back numbers on 17 starts. Not overlapping starts, but 17 starts using one or the other via this color graph right here. You've got top 5 running back numbers through 17 weeks. And with Charbonnet alone, you got top 2 to 3 running back numbers per start. Extrapolated out would be running back 2 or 3. So if you have the duo, 100% agree. You only have Walker, you're in a world of hurt. because the guy, as good as he is, can't stay healthy for 17 games. I think he could be marvelous per start, and I kind of hope they trade him. I kind of hope the Washington Commanders pick up the phone and say, hey, Seattle, what do you want for Kenneth Walker? I hear you like Charbonnet a lot, and you don't want to get rid of him because he's, cheaper. But yes, send Walker on over. We'll extend him. I know you're worried about that. We'll extend him. He wants it. You want it. Let's get Sharp in your lineup, pal. Get it done. That's what I hope happens so that everyone can eat. Walker can eat in Washington and become a top 6 to 10 running back in Washington, and Sharps becomes a 6 to 10 running back in Seattle.
Let him cook.
Travis, you're live.
Hey, yeah, so I think one thing to just warn people about, because it's not to be a damper on things, but easy to be really excited, and this is an awesome time of year, but when looking at last year's stats, you see a guy that had 15, 16 touchdowns, the chances of him doing that again is slim. Now, a guy like Chase or one of these young players, sure, but like, the Jacobs, the Cook, and guys that kind of come out of nowhere and all of a sudden have double-digit touchdowns, it's pretty rare that they do it again. I mean, double-digit touchdowns are rare in the NFL anyway. I posted how many were in the past several years, and so just a word of advice to people to look at the full player, not just the touchdowns.
Yeah, I think it's also important to who is the player. What do they bring to the table? In the case of Jacobs or in James Cook, these are probably the two most obvious players that can disappoint and not deliver upon expectation in 2025, because not only did they have anomaly type seasons, but they're not even the elite of the elite. These are not Tomlinson, type players. Where's my James Cook graphic when I need it? These are players that I very much like. I'm not trying to suggest that we were the Jacobs connoisseurs last year. We were the channel that told you to go get Jacobs and JMO. We were the ones that told you. We said go get Jacobs, go get JMO, and win your league at the cost of entry. So we loved them more than anybody, but it's true. Jacobs and Cook are the two most likely running backs, top 10 running backs, to disappoint you greatly in 2025. And the only person that is going to say, that's not true, is the owner. You own 4, 5, 3, at least one share of Jacobs. You're going to defend him, and I respect it. Or you're a prospective Jacobs or Cook owner that can't let go of what you've already planned on doing, and you like your plan of attack. You need to stick with it. You don't like change, and you've already mock drafted to your heart's content getting Jacobs over and over and over. Look, Jacobs could have a good year. I'm not saying he's a bust. I'm just saying don't expect a total repeat of his situation. He's taken a beating over the years. He got 8-man fronts handed to him hand over fist for years in that Raiders situation. James Cook didn't score over 4 touchdowns prior to this big 17 rushing touchdown season last year. And he plays in Buffalo, where nothing's consistent from year to year. And Josh Allen is the only main show in town. And he's holding out. And Davis is on the rise. And Davis cracked the midseason monster list, which is not a good sign for anybody when they crack our midseason monster list. Davis to the mother freaking moon. These are two very disappointing players, one of which is on planet.
And off he goes to the
planet Uranus,
known as Uranus.
And honestly, I'm not putting Jacobs on there, but he's going to be very deserving, I think, in hindsight, of a, I'm not drafting him again type of bust feel for those that are expecting him to be a top 5 running back. Could he linger in the 12 range? Could he be a very good running back too? Absolutely. Not projecting injury, but very concerned about injury, because the man has been beaten into the ground for years. And it adds up. The same kind of beating he took, Todd Gurley took in LA. Well, in St. Louis at the time. Todd Gurley was beaten into the ground with 8-man fronts before he finally got a good team near the tail end of his career, and he fell off the face of the earth.
Yeah, just two more quick things on Jacobs. One, last year they drafted Marshawn Lloyd and liked him a lot and thought they were going to work him in and he could stay healthy. So if he's healthy, he's going to get some work. But also we look for trends and stuff. And if you look at Jacobs since 2020, it's been every other year. He's got a ton of work, double-digit touchdowns. Then he takes a little step back and he's a little banged up. Ton of work, double-digit touchdowns. And so this would be on pace for a down year. Not saying that's a, sure thing, but you add all these things up, and there's risk.
Yeah. The three most likely players to disappoint at the running back position this year are, well, actually the top four, I would say, would be these two gentlemen on screen. Unfortunately, King Henry has a chance. I would say I like him the most, though, out of the four. And I'm not avoiding him. I'm just drafting him smartly. And then the other one, obvious choice, who's obviously also on the Planet Uranus list, is Christian McCaffrey, who I can find and pull his graphic on. But these four guys right here, I'm not saying all four will bust, but these are the four most likely players to disappoint at the RB position that are getting drafted astronomically high. Like these are not just, this is not me like making some really like bland and boring bold prediction bust comment. Like, you know who I don't like this year? Brian Robinson Jr. Like who cares? Like that's a really weak bust prediction. Like something like that. These are four heavy hitters. These are four heavy hitters. And I'm not saying all four fail. I'm just trying to collect the four most likely to disappoint players and put them on screen. No one's saying that one of them won't slip through. And if it is one of them, it probably is Henry. But these are four very injury-prone players. The takeaway here would be don't draft all these guys and put all your eggs in one basket. In fact, don't like even rotationally draft them. Let's say you play to 4 leagues. You better not have one of these guys on each of the 4 leagues. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, and with Henry, he could still run for 900 or 1,100 yards with 6 or 7 touchdowns, and I think he'll might get more touchdowns because of goal line.
I mean,
but
he could even
would be a disappointment.
He could even have 800 yards. And he could have 800 yards and 10 touchdowns. Like Todd Gurley, the year Todd Gurley busted, I went on a tirade on it. He was the number 1 overall pick walking out of the Super Bowl. He wasn't used in that Super Bowl game, if anybody can even remember back. Todd Gurley wasn't used in the Super Bowl. And everybody questioned, why wasn't Todd Gurley used? What's going on with this situation? And your boy was on the case. Your boy investigated. Your boy watched every carry. Your boy saw the decline. And I went out there and I have that breaking iPad scene that I should find that, where I go, no Todd Gurley, no Todd Gurley. And I smash an iPad to pieces with a hammer. And it was like the advertisement for the channel. And everybody was all over my case. Like, Todd Gurley bust? What are you, nuts? He's the number 1 overall pick. Started to become the number 2 and 3 overall pick. People started to catch on and started to get worried. There was video footage of Todd Gurley walking out of a club limping. Then he dropped to about 9 or 10 overall. Dropped into the teens. Dropped out of the second round. Way ahead of the curve on the Todd Gurley decline. He climbed back into the second round and got drafted right around the second round. And then he ended up having like a pretty productive touchdown season, but clearly fell off. I think Derrick Henry could have a final year like that when he does drop off. It's going to be a deceptively solid year because of the touchdowns, but it could be clear drop off in the other parts of his game. And maybe we don't have one of those drop off the cliff experiences. Even if you took him at the top of round 2 and you get 11 touchdowns and 800 yards, you're still pretty satisfied and you don't feel blindsided by his decline. I think that might hopefully be the way Henry goes out, where you're not even that mad about it. Got him a pretty good value, and then now I'm not going to draft him again, and that's fine. Shake my hand. Thank you for not leaving me in the lurch. I think that's what happens.
Gurley had 850 with 12 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And then in the playoffs, in the NFC Championship, he got four rushes for 10 yards. Super Bowl, 10 rushes for 35 yards. So,
yep.
Just like you said.
Yeah. So I see a very similar, but the point I brought up, Todd Gurley, was not even to go over Henry's potential, the way he'll go out. It was to talk about hitting the brick wall. Jacobs hitting the brick wall. I think the only one here that they won't hit the brick wall is James Cook, but James Cook is not even as good as these guys. He just kind of stumbled into the VIP room, and he's just sitting in there like, hey, how'd you get in here? Oh, I scored 17 touchdowns last year. Oh, okay. Well, have a seat, young man, but he doesn't belong here. You know, he's good. The Cook owners out there are just fuming. Like, I own James Cook. What are you talking about? I think I'll be pretty good. But James Cook doesn't belong in this conversation. I don't know how he got here. In fact, let's get rid of him. He doesn't deserve to be on the screen. But I think, these are 3, 4. Let's put them back on. 4 guys that you should be probably not heavily invested in. You know, this is like you're trying to get into the stock market the night before, and you know it's going to be a bumpy ride tomorrow. Like, it's probably best to just stay out of these markets right here, these 4 markets, and go after safer players. Christian McCaffrey, take Bucky Irving. Jacobs, take Harvey or Hampton. Henry, take Bucky or take Kyren or take a wide receiver like London. Like, these are all safer avenues to go after instead of Derrick Henry, Christian McCaffrey. It's not always about, am I right or wrong at the end of the year? It's mitigating risk. And these guys all have some major risk at their cost of entry. All right, let me go around the phone line real quick.
Super chat related to the running backs, too. I don't know if you
Gump, hang tight.
Related.
Hang tight, Gump, real quickly. Smitty, it's Thomas again.
Sorry, Gump.
Thank you, Thomas. Appreciate you. Barkley keeps falling to me at 5. I understand he won't finish number 1 again, but at 5, I think it's too far. It's fine in one league, bro. I mean, no one's saying Barkley's a... Do you see Barkley on this list?
And off he goes.
He's not on
to
here.
The planet known as Uranus.
And I think that there's a reason to avoid him, or there's a reason to draft him and then trade him after 4 games. Think Mixon last year. The way we should have approached Mixon, and this is on me, we should have drafted him. We should have rode the train for a little while, enjoyed it. And then by mid-season, even if it was a little early because he played well till like double-digit weeks, like week 10 or something, you trade Mixon after a month and a half of football. That's what should have happened with Joe Mixon, and he was such a steal last year. That was league-winning advice if we knew how to frame it that way. But instead, it was like, avoid Joe Mixon. Okay, we're wrong. We're right. And at the end, we were right. But you could have been more right if you drafted Mixon, enjoyed the fruits of his labor, and then traded him mid-season. So the same thing with Barkley. Barkley is coming off an amazing year. Barkley showing 0 signs of decline or injury, so he should be great in week 1. He should be great maybe the first entire month. The problem is you don't know when an injury can strike. In his 470 total touches last year, his 430 plus total carries last year, put him in the most vulnerable position of any running back walking into 2025. So I'm not saying don't draft him at 5. And in best ball, you can support him properly. Maybe he misses 4 games in the middle of the year, comes back and is awesome at the end of the year. We don't know how the missed games will probably go down. But this whole thing of like, I'm not betting against Henry. He'll keep doing it. I'm not betting against Barkley. There are lots of red flags here that they could avoid. No doubt about it. And I'm not saying don't draft Barkley. But if you draft him in a league where you can trade him, smart. If you draft him in best ball, it's fine. I wouldn't do it in every draft, but make sure you got Scattaboo and Harvey and players like Charbonnet that can pop off. And if they get cooking later and they overlap and Barkley misses games and Sharps is in the lineup, then you're crushing it. And you got all those early Barkley points that he blows up. And if you extrapolated, would be running back 1. So it's kind of like 8 games of Barkley at running back 1 with Charbonnet the rest of the year mixed with Harvey or somebody, then you're fine. You're golden. You may be better off drafting that than anything else. So it's all about what you surround your best ball team with. It's all about, can you draft Barkley in a league where you can trade him later if need be? If, let's say, this particular league does not allow trading and it's a non-best ball, but no one trades in the league or there's no trading allowed, I'd go a different direction. If you're going to go Barkley in the league this year, make sure you can trade. That's all I'll say. He's not a planet Uranus man. He's not a complete bust, but he is a huge liability. Thank you, Thomas, for the super chat. And then I got this other super chat real quick here from Calvin. Hey, Smitty, this is the NFC West with the worst division in the NFC. NFC West, the worst division in the NFC. Philly, Washington, Tampa Bay, Atlanta, Detroit, Minnesota, Green Bay. I'd take all those teams against the 4 in the NFC West. Okay, so you're trying to trash on the NFC West. I hear you. I don't think that's fair for the Rams, bro. You want to say that against the Cardinals? I get it. I understand it. You want to say it against Seattle? A lot of questions with Darnold. Niners, I just went over all the concerns. But the Rams, I think, can hang with Detroit, with Minnesota, with Green Bay. In fact, Calvin, I would insert the Rams ahead of Detroit, ahead of Minnesota, and ahead of Green Bay, and probably right there with Tampa Bay, and only Washington and Philly above them. So I think you're discounting the Rams a little too much, Calvin, even though you're my boy and I appreciate your $5 holler. All right, Travis, real quick. I heard him grunting about something, and then over to my boy Gump, who's been waiting on hold.
No, you can go to Gump. I was just saying that the Rams are loaded. Unless Stafford gets hurt or falls off, the Rams are ready to go.
I think the Rams are equal to Tampa, and they're all above Detroit over Green Bay. And here's Gump. Gump's about to have a hernia because he just heard me talk about the Rams over the Lions. He won't be able to contain himself. Go ahead, Gump. Unleash.
Well, give me about 2 seconds here. I'm almost there. I got a surprise for you. I'm coming to you live right now from Orchard View Cardinal Stadium, Muskegon, Michigan, Township. So all I got to say about these Rams and all this other stuff, no, not happening.
Why? Give me one bit of evidence. Give me some tangible evidence rather than my Lions. My Lions are the best. My Lions are the best.
I'm right here. I'm looking at the goalpost where I scored 3 touchdowns back to back.
Okay, Al Bundy. Okay, Al Bundy.
Right here. Right there. I'm looking at the goalpost. Orchard View Cardinal Stadium, Muskegon Township, Muskegon, Michigan. I'm coming to you right live here.
Okay, Al Bundy.
No, the Rams are not better. Come on. Smitty,
Gump. You never give any evidence for anything you say. You never provide a single bit of tangible evidence to anything you ever say.
Okay, can I say something here for
Sure.
a second? You remember the '85 Bears?
Yeah.
Remember them? Huh? And they kind of snuck up on everybody, right?
Okay.
Well, this is the 2025 Lions.
Oh. Didn't think of it that way. I didn't think of it that way, Gump. All right, Gump, mute yourself. Rock out. You're live. What? What?
Well, first of all, Lions are not sneaking up on anybody. Everybody knows they're in contention. But,
yeah, the Commanders.
Are you stacked with the Cardinal backfield?
Oh, we didn't even do Cardinal backfield predictions now that you mentioned that. I just noticed that. Okay. This is hard to predict, and this is, again, something that it's hard for me to throw stats out because I think Benson gets in there and eventually really starts to, flourish. This guy is flirting with 4.5, 5 yards per carry during certain parts of the season last year. I really like Benson. I think Benson could be. I'm not going to throw projections out like I said because I think it's hard to predict when Connor falls off. And Connor last year, we got excited about Benson prematurely, and Connor didn't get injured. It was one of the few years he didn't get injured, so it's hard to really know. And they love Connor there, so it's not like they're just going to take Connor out unless he's playing badly. So we just don't know how many games Benson can start. But once Benson's starting, he could totally be a 90 to 100 total yard player. And I don't think he's gonna, get 1 touchdown a game and have 17 scores. I think he could have 7 to 8 total TDs on the year, even with the slow start. So he starts averaging more than the pace of a 7 to 8 TD season once he's in there. But on the year, he probably gets 7 to 8 TDs. And then once he's in the lineup, he's averaging 90 to 100 total yards a game. So definitely a top 10 running back. But what was the question? What was the question in general? Is am I what about the Cardinals running back game? What was it?
Are you doing a stack?
No, I'm just grabbing Benson all by his lonesome. Yep. This is a solo act for me. I like Connor, but I'd rather go in a different direction. You look at ADP data, you look at where Connor is going, and it just makes a lot of sense. And if I go to thefantasyfootballshow.com, which is my year-round rankings and bold prediction site, I've been doing it since 2002/2003. Nobody's cranking out content like your boy, written content, radio, did all that before, the YouTube channel, way before the YouTube channel. So this has been the bread and butter. I go over to the rankings, or let's go to ADP rankings, which are fueled by the Underdog ADP rankings. And I look for Benson, and I see Benson sitting there at 140 overall, which is McCarthy, Jake Ferguson, Tajay Spears. Trey Benson's going that's crazy ADP. And dare I say, let's just put it at like 120, 115 just to be safe and set a very proper expectation. And then you look at Connor. Connor's going at 70 overall, around the likes of Laporta. Debo's above him. Jennings is right above him. Kristalave, Kamara right above him. Henderson about 8 to 10 spots above him. This is total players, not running backs. Right below Connor, Judkins, Monty, both players I'd rather have. Caleb Johnson maybe even over him. And you get down to Patrick Mahomes, who's about 12 spots below James Conner. There's no way I'm drafting James Conner in 2025. Zero chance, because I just went through a gauntlet of players that I'd much rather have than James Conner up and down the positions. Laporta, Mahomes, all the rookie running backs to a degree. Even I'd rather even have Scattaboo in a vacuum, not necessarily ADP-wise because Connor's going 70. I'm not a moron. But I'm playing the ADP game, taking a different player like Mahomes and then grabbing Scattaboo later. Give me Mahomes at Connor's ADP and give me Scattaboo or a running back like Charbonnet later versus taking Connor and a later quarterback. Easy call. Benson, only player I'm drafting in that Cardinal running back room. It's not that I don't love Connor. He supported the Cardinals for years. Hats off to him. Mashed potato to Connor, 100%. But it is what it is. It's a business. All right, hang tight. Gump, what else you got? What else you stewing about, Gump? Hello?
He's reliving his glory days.
Well, he waited too long.
I gotta get
Finish him.
I'm coming to you live.
Call terminated.
I already hit the button. It takes about 2 seconds for the line to actually clear, and it's like, Gump, where are you? Gump, where are you? Hello? And he's sitting there, and then all of a sudden he's like, I'm coming to you live from a. Hold on, here he is. Gump, are you live?
Yeah, I'm live from the north end zone of the Cardinal Stadium. And I want to give you something good. I want to give you something really,
Why does he keep
and
saying this? Why does he keep saying he's in the Cardinal Stadium?
I love the Cardinal Stadium.
It's his high school stadium. They must have been the Cardinals.
We're the Cardinals. I'm always a Cardinal.
But why are you bringing this up?
Yeah.
No, I'm just nostalgia. But anyway, I'm going to give you something really good from the Cardinal Stadium. You're going to like this.
You mean from the Cardinals dirt field from your high school? Is this what you're talking about? Is this what is Travis right? The Cardinals.
Zone, yeah.
Okay, yeah, but why are you talking about your high school team and talking about the Cardinals? You're confusing everybody. And they're like, is he in Arizona? What's he talking about? Stop bringing up the Cardinals.
No, I'm in Michigan.
Okay, well, go ahead. What are you saying?
At the field.
You're at your little dirt high school field. Let's call it what it is.
No, there ain't no dirt on it. What are you talking about?
Okay, go ahead. What can we do for you, Gus?
But what I want, because I'm here, and so I want to give you something good. I would like to give you like a hope that you would try to do this, is that about week 4 or so, that you would have the grittiest players in the NFL type thing, from fantasy. Who's the grittiest? Maybe Scattaboo, maybe it could be Bucky. Who wins the gritty crown? Who's the grittiest? Who's got the real grit? Who's got the tough? Who's got who's the toughest? Toughest. You know what I mean?
Finish him. Call terminated.
Yeah, where's Jose's right? Where's Denny when we need him? When we need some sound logic. When we need some sound logic.
Gonna get arrested for trespassing.
Sitting around circles.
He probably climbed the fence. The security guard's like, "What are you doing?" "No way! I scored 3 touchdowns back in 50 years ago." He comes cracks.
Hanging around the high school ground.
His cracks, exposed as he's climbing the fence, and they're just like, "What are you doing, sir? Get down! Why is your tractor truck, full of cereal boxes out here in the middle with the hazard lights on as he's climbing over the fence to relive his high school glory days?" All right,
like 30, 40 years ago.
All right, dial in. We're
football.
We're gonna be back tonight. I'm not leaving yet, but dial in. Let's quickly go over a few things, and then we're out of here.
Call into the show. Call into the show.
All right, go ahead, Travis. Final thoughts, in a sense, because we'll be back.
I told Thomas in the chat, he was just asking your thoughts. I guess he's a Seahawks fan, on the running back Martinez, and then the rookie guy they took, I forget his name, and MVS. I know you know what MVS is, but Damian Martinez, the rookie they drafted. Yes, if you have anything to say on MVS, but
I mean, until there's a trade, I don't have much to really say, or I don't really have any interest in Martinez. Like, I'm not drafting Martinez. I don't even draft Martinez in an 18-round draft. Like, he's not even getting taken. But because he's right now he's not even third on the depth chart. McIntosh is third on the depth chart. But could he climb and become the third? Sure. But he also could be special teams. He could be there's nothing there right now. We have 2 running backs that are ahead of him that are together a top 5 running back, and individually could be top 5, if they leaned on him. So no interest whatsoever. As far as
probably the same for Corey Horton, the rookie. He's got to earn his spot, though, right?
Yeah, you got.
It's more of a dynasty question. Do those guys interest you at all in dynasty?
You're talking about a run-heavy system that probably only has room for JSN going forward. Kupp is there for now. Dynasty-wise, Horton's got intrigue. Yes, I would draft him in Dynasty. I put him on a practice squad. Do I like him over, let's say, Daniels in KC? No, I like that rookie receiver a lot more. Do I like even Tesla over Horton? Probably, because I think JMO could be moved. So I'd rather have Tesla as a number 2 than Horton maybe getting a hold of that number 2 spot. But, Milroe gets in there, it could change everything. So I think he definitely needs to be monitored. Horton needs to be monitored, practice squatted. But he's in the Tesla range. You're not drafting him in an 18-round draft unless you draft, let's say, St. Brown or JMO, and you want to cuff Tesla to one of them. You draft JSN. In Dynasty, you could cuff Horton to him, but I don't think Horton is going to have redraft value at all. 2025. Oh, did I say Daniels? I meant Royals. Sorry, Jalen Royals. I don't know what. Yeah, Thomas, thank you for correcting that. I don't know why I said Daniels. I think I've done that before. I don't know why I do that. I don't know why I think of Royals as Daniels. I say that. I misspeak on that a lot. Yeah, I'm sorry. Jalen Royals. He's royal. He's royalty. That's how I got to make sure I say it right. I don't know why I do that. But I like Jalen Royals a lot more than Horton. Has Isaiah Bond been signed by anybody? Has that news
I think so.
slipped by because no one wants to report on the guy because of his accusations against him? How Isaiah Bond is a top 7 rookie wide receiver in this rookie class, and I can't believe a team hasn't treated him with the innocent till proven guilty perspective, unless there's evidence the NFL has where Roger Goodell's reached out to 32 teams in some sort of private, teams message. It says, we've got video footage, do not sign him. Otherwise, I don't understand what's going on. All right.
That's all I can figure is no more.
Yeah. We're good. You were good at Cardinals Stadium, says Coach Gump. I don't know what I don't even understand his messages anymore. He probably got back in his truck. He's back on the road. For those that don't know, Gump hauls stuff for a living in his tractor trailer truck. He goes across the country. He's got cereal boxes in the back of his big truck. I wonder what Gump has. Gump, what do you have on the back of your truck? There's no way you don't decorate it with some sort of like a lighting or, some sort of skull that's swinging from the back or,
The Detroit Lions logo.
Yeah, some sort of netting on the back. It's custom, something. There's no way Gump's truck is just plain. There's something going on with Gump's truck. Gump, what is on your truck? What is unique about your truck? No going fishing? Is that what it says? I know there's something on it. I know Gump's truck is decorated. It's got to be. And yeah, Gump, we're waiting for you to bring on Calvin Johnson, Megatron, onto the show. Gump says he knows him. Gump says he trained him. Gump says he gave him the pool drill. Gump says the reason Calvin Johnson became Calvin Johnson is because Gump gave him he's got American flag. I could see that. I thought it'd be something different, but I could see that. Gump says he trained Calvin Johnson. He gave him what's called the pool drill, and it changed Calvin Johnson's game entirely. And when we dug into it a little deeper, it ended up being Gump was getting an autograph signed and told him all this real quickly. And Calvin somehow took the pool drill from an autograph signing conversation, went and became this unbelievable wide receiver and owes it all to Gump. And the day that Gump gets a hold of him, Gump's going to bring him on the channel and say, hey, you owe me because of the pool drill. Come on the Fantasy Football Show. And then if he ever does come on, let's pretend this is all real. If he ever did come on the show, what an embarrassing moment if Gump and Calvin are both on the phone line and I've got to hang up on Gump. It's just Calvin and I. What's up, Gump? Did you call to defend your honor real quick?
I did have communications with Detroit Lions football staff, and I was bringing a player there from Utah, but he went to go play pro ball, basketball. He wanted to do that instead. But that's just another story, all right?
No.
But what I want to say is you do a good job out there. But what I want is a shot at Antonio Brown. How old is that guy? I'd like to train him one more year. I could train.
How are you training any? What are you talking about? You told Calvin Johnson about a pool drill. You didn't train anybody.
Smitty,
and you didn't even do that.
Smitty. I used to train so hard it'd make your eye pupils cry. You know what I mean? It'd make you cry. It was bad.
Antonio Brown.
I want you tell Antonio Brown next time you talk to him, say Coach Gump wants to train. How old is that kid anyway? How old is he?
Hey, if I ever talk to Antonio Brown, you're not coming up. Look, I don't know if you know, but Antonio Brown was a friend. Gump, listen. Antonio Brown was a friend of the show. He watched the show every day, and he DM'd me on Twitter, and he'd ask me questions, and he put the show up on his CTESPN, and he used to reference the show. And so I was talking to Antonio Brown. He'd ask me questions. I kind of let it play out for a while. He'd ask me for stats and stuff, and I'd give it to him. He's like, hey, what's the salary cap here? I'd give it to him. And then one day I thought, I've answered this guy's questions quite a bit. I've plugged them all over the channel. I feel like I deserve to ask him if he can come on the show. And I said, AB, you got time to pop on? I'll plug your CT ESPN like crazy. Of course, we love you on the channel. The channel loves him. And he goes, you got budget? And I said, budget? He goes, you got budget? And I'm like, Antonio Brown, I thought we were friends. I go, I have budget, but I don't want to pay you to come on the show. This isn't Cameo. And Gump, I'm in the middle of a story here. And he blocked me. He didn't say anything. He just blocked me. And I haven't heard from him since. He just blocked me. So no more Antonio Brown plugs. If he has something legitimate brewing on his CT ESPN account, I'll put it up. I'm not afraid to plug him, but no glorious plugs. No giving this guy a whole bunch of love. I mean, look, in hindsight, like I kind of wish I'd just asked what kind of budget you talking, just to see what we're dealing with. But in good conscience, I can't pay someone to come on my show. That is a total weak move. He should want to come on to get the exposure, not to mention, just talk to a guy he's been, pulling stats from for a while, and he plugs the channel and the show on his CTS, or he did. I don't know what happened to him, but he blocked me. I no longer have a relationship with AB. I don't know.
That's sad. But the reason why I bring up the True Grit thing is a lot of times when you play any sport, it's really how well you train.
Thanks, Gump.
What really makes a difference.
Thanks.
Because I used to run 100 miles a week. Every week I ran 100. I could at that point I could have got on the football field and ran anybody.
100 miles a week, Gump? 100 miles a week?
Yes, and I outran the Navy SEALs and the Navy divers and EOD on the island of Guam.
You ran 100 miles a week, Gump. Gump, you didn't run 100 miles a week. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
Gump, that's 14 miles a day. That's 14 miles a day, Gump. You didn't run 14 miles a day. You'd have tendinitis. You wouldn't be able to walk. You didn't. You didn't. You didn't. Gump, stop lying. Gump, stop lying on my channel. You did not run 100 miles a week. You didn't. That's 14 miles a day, Gump. You didn't run 14 miles a day. Gump, stop lying. Gump, stop.
I ran so fast and so hard I thought I was going to drop over with a heart attack.
That was a real force, Gump.
Finish him.
All right, he's done for the day. 100 miles a week. You got to be out of your mind. You know how hard it is to run 14 miles a day? You got to be out of your mind. You break.
Gump ran more than that.
Let's ask Kruger.
Let's
ask Kruger. Let's ask Kruger. Our phone caller, Gump. He's notorious for making up stories. Says he knows Calvin Johnson when
have a reputation for spinning some tall tales. He's always got a new wild story, and sometimes it's tough to tell what's real and what's exaggerated. It definitely adds some entertainment, but we've got to take his stories with a grain of salt.
Okay, Kruger, hold on. You interrupted me. You obviously knew what we were talking about. You were listening. But what I was going to ask you was, Gump just told us he used to run 100 miles a week. That is 14.28 miles roughly per day. Gump, is that even humanly possible for a person's body to withstand a 14.28 mile run per day? If you're Gump? Krug! The calculation is too much for him. Let's ask him one more time. Kruger, I'll ask you again.
Kruger.
Is it possible for a human being like Gump to run 14.28 miles per day? Because the man just said he used to run 100 miles a week.
Running 14.28 miles per day is definitely possible, especially for someone who's trained and in good shape. It would add up to about 100 miles a week, which is a solid weekly mileage for serious runners or marathon trainers. So Gump's claim isn't outlandish if he's got the endurance and experience.
But in your estimation, with your intelligence, is Gump telling the truth?
Well, I can't say for certain if Gump's telling the truth without more evidence, but it's definitely within the realm of possibility for someone to run that much if they're dedicated and conditioned. I guess he's got a track record of tall tales like he usually does. It's not impossible for someone with a strong running background.
Tall tail Gumpy. Tall tail Gumpy. Oh man. That's like marathon runner, 14 miles per day.
Right.
When I was in high school and I was a track star, I was an utter track star in high school, running 4-minute miles. Okay. That's what I used to do. I'd run a low 4-minute mile run. I would run at most 8 miles per day, and not even every day. Running 14.28 miles per day is so out of this world, not normal. There's no way Gump's running 14 miles per day. There's no way. I barely did 8, and it wasn't even every day. It was like 4 days a week.
You gotta be a pure athlete to do that.
Kruger, you got anything else?
Tall Tail Gumpy strikes again. Yeah, it's definitely not typical to run that kind of mileage daily, unless you're a professional endurance athlete or marathoner. Your high school track star days were impressive. Even then, 8 miles a day, 4 days a week was a serious commitment.
Good way of good way to pump me up. I like that, Krug. But here, let me ask you one more question. Out of all the people in the world, what is the percentage of people that can run 14 miles per day, if you had to guess?
Glad to pump you up, Smitty. If I had to guess, the percentage of people who can consistently run 14 miles a day is extremely small. We're talking probably less than 1% of the population, more likely a fraction of a percent. It's the kind of mileage that only elite endurance athletes or ultra runners would hit regularly.
Does that sound like Gump to you?
Not in the slightest.
He scored 4 touchdowns.
Hold on, Travis. Go ahead, Gump. All right, go ahead, Travis. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Kruger.
You got it. Let me know what's next.
Okay. So you said a fraction of 1%. So give me that in terms of like this number of people out of this number of people. Like, one out of how many, thousands or millions of people would that be if you're talking about a fraction of 1%?
Sure thing. If we're talking about a fraction of 1%, let's say 0.1% for simplicity. That would mean about 1 out of every 1,000 people could potentially run 14 miles a day. If we're talking about an even smaller fraction, like 0.01%, that would be about 1 out of every 10,000 people. Either way, it's a pretty rare feat.
I even think that that's not right. There's no way 1 out of 10,000 people can run 14 miles. I would say, I think Kruger's off on that one. I think it's 1 out of 10,000 people could run even like 5 miles per day. I would say that if you asked 1,000 people on the street right now, you would get not even one person that runs a mile a day. Like there are not very many people. You have to go to a gym or a running path. Like you just walk into you walk into B of A or Chase Bank and you ask the first 1,000 people that walk through, do you run a mile per day? I bet you get maybe one yes, maybe if you're lucky. So I don't even know where that 1 out of 10,000 even comes from. That's no way. There's no way. I would say it's like 1 out of 100 or 200,000 people could run even 10 miles per day that even have time for that. Anyway. All right. Enough of Gump. He's wasted a bunch of this time on this topic. BBQ says fantasy drafts remind me of going to the buffet or BBQ restaurant. You show up with a plan and then it looks all good. And any tips on staying focused? I would just say, look, BBQ, the best thing I can tell you is make the best draft selection on the clock every time. Best player available, which I know I talk about a lot. This is a $20 hauler, by the way, so you get a $20 celebration.
Super chat alert.
But it sounds so like, Smitty, you've told me this before, but no one I preach it, but no one practices it. You just get on the clock and you say, who is the best pick right here? You get on the clock again, reset, compose yourself. Who is the best pick right here? Then when you're on the clock, though, BBQ, click on your roster, review who you have. That curbs and shapes your best player available mentality, though. Like if you already have Josh Allen, then really, looking at quarterbacks on the clock don't necessarily have the same pull for you. Or let's say you've got Mahomes, or let's say you've got Jalen Hurts, Kyren Williams, CeeDee Lamb, and let's say Marvin Harrison Jr. Okay, and then you're on the clock right now. You're gonna look at that team. You're gonna keep refreshing your team. Step back and look at it, and then go back to the draft board as you're on the clock, or right before. Look at your team, then focus right and say, okay, best player available. What fits that right now? What is tweaked in my mind because of the look of my team? So now all of a sudden you're looking at receiver a little bit more heavy. That becomes a little bit of a part of the process. But then you see, a running back on the board still that's Harvey or Hampton. And you're like, okay, I already have Kyren, I already have Hurts, I have MHJ. And let's say you already have, did I say Hampton already? Now, let's say you're looking at Harvey and you're like, now I'm going to draft my flex option over a second wide receiver. Yeah, you are. Yeah, I am. I'm drafting best player available. I do not force a position. If you always stick to that, you will sometimes have holes in your lineup. Your wide receiver 3 might feel like it might be Besh, it might be Besh and a freaking player that you find a little bit hard to accept as your wide receiver 3, but that's the course you take when you go best player available. You can sometimes have balance, you can sometimes have a little bit of a lopsided feel, but just trust the process and know that you're stacking your team in such a way that you're going to be fine. Appreciate you dropping that. And when we draft tonight, I'll let you know how I'm feeling when I'm picking, like why I'm thinking this is best player available. How am I staying focused? But the best way to stay focused is when you're about a pick or two away, click on your roster, make sure you really kind of absorb what you have, go back to the board, have a couple pre-ranked players, and to keep focused, BBQ, I know I don't do this enough myself because I hate showing everybody what I'm about to pick because then they snipe me. But the best course of action is to check, put a star next to the player you feel is the most likely to be taken. And then while you're searching around, if you time out, you could even let it time out on the pick. But that would gives you another second or two. But make sure you check who you want and queue them so you don't end up getting timed out on somebody you don't want. Always queue somebody initially and then look. It gives you a lot of peace of mind while you're looking around. And sometimes if you've already got, let's say you queue Mahomes, right? Let's say I've already got Jalen Hurts, but Mahomes is by far the next best pick, and I want to go bully quarterback. I'll queue Mahomes and then look around. And for some reason, having Mahomes queued, ready to time out on Mahomes, gives me such a peace of mind that I'm able to think clearer. So that's also a really, really good focus technique, is to queue that player and you'd have no concerns. Whereas you're running around, you're like, who do I take? I want to take him. I'll go back to Mahomes. I hope Mahomes doesn't. I'm going to time out. Just queue him. Queue him and leave it. Don't queue everybody if you're in that type of mindset, or you might queue them and then you don't realize you got someone else queued and then they get taken. Rock out. Final thoughts. We'll be back tonight.
Is there like any? Do you think like Cousins after June 1st might go to either the Steelers or the Saints?
Cousins go to the Steelers or the Saints? Yeah, I think so. We're also hearing a little bit of whispers, and tonight's stream might not be another team breakdown or division breakdown. It might be a Caleb Williams show with all the news about how he tried not to go to Chicago. I've got a lot of it collected, and we'll talk about it tonight.
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. Bears. Another kind of like, we're gonna get coined as the hater show tonight. Another hater show. Why are you always so negative on a couple players? Brock Purdy, you're hating on Brock Purdy. I wasn't hating on Brock Purdy at all. I was hating on the Niners. And not hating on the Niners or Niner players. I'm hating specifically on the process that is the 49ers in the offseason. They absolutely are ridiculous. Mm-hmm. 16 miles was easy, says Coach Gump. More like Couch Gump. I think I'll start calling you Couch Gump. There's no way you went 1.6 miles per day, Gump. Gump, 16.
Oh, man.
16 miles. He said, did he say?
Keep going.
He said 14. It was 14 miles a day. Now it's 16 miles a day. This guy tells stories like no other. Let's tell Kruger. That's unacceptable. Kruger needs to know this. Kruger, now Gump's saying he ran 16 miles a day instead of 14. His story keeps changing.
Boy, Gump's tall tales keep getting taller. 16 miles a day now. Next thing you know, he'll be claiming he ran a marathon backward. You want me to call him out on it next time he calls in?
I want you to call him out on it now. Tell him.
All right, Gump, listen up. Smitty's onto your ever-growing mileage claims. If you're running 16 miles a day, you must be ready for the Olympics. Let's keep it real, buddy. We're all for motivation, but let's not turn those daily jogs into a tall tale marathon.
Hey, Kruger, what is, based on knowing Gump's tendencies, what is the most likely player he would draft and probably overhype and completely whiff on this year? Give us a prediction.
Knowing Gump's flair for the dramatic, he'd probably draft someone like an aging running back who's past his prime, thinking he's found a hidden gem. Let's say he hypes up Derrick Henry, convinced Henry's going to have a career resurgence, only to see him struggle with injuries or lose touches. Classic Gump move, right?
Henry taking strays. Henry taking Kruger strays as if he already declined. Kruger, what do you know that we don't know? Did Derrick Henry decline in 2025 in the future? Are you a time traveler? How do we know this?
Not a time traveler, just making a bold prediction. Henry's a powerhouse, but he's had a lot of mileage over the years. It's all about reading the tea leaves and spotting those potential declines before they happen. But hey, if Henry proves me wrong, I'll take that lap.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you've been listening to the show because we just did a Henry. He's absorbing what I'm saying. Krug, you're a master at delivering content. Real quickly, Kruger, just want to say, give me a prediction. I know you've probably been listening, but give me your own predictions. Make it speedy, no dancing around and making a long explanation or repeating what I'm saying. I want the NFC West, Rams, Cardinals, Niners, and Seahawks record predictions right now, one after the other, fast style. Go.
Right, here we go. Rams 10-7, Cardinals 7-10, Niners 12-5, Seahawks 9-8. Quick and to the point.
Wow, 12 wins for the Niners. Okay, thanks, Krug. Appreciate you, man. I what can you do? What can you do? Kind of feels like it's not going to happen now because Krug is way off on his stats lately. He's way off. I think he thinks it's 2023 sometimes. All right, boys, I got to flush the phone line. Appreciate you. I'll see you tonight. Call in and we'll do some convos around Caleb and draft tonight.
All right,
Later, boys. Thanks, Travis. All right, I'm out of here. Appreciate you all. Thank you to Super Chatters. Thank you to, there's a Super Chat right here by BBQ. Fantasy Drafts remind me. Oh, it's the same one. Thank you, BBQ, for that $20 hauler. Thank you, Terry. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, BBQ again. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Calvin Krim, for the Super Chats. I'll be back tonight. Tonight we draft. Tonight we discuss Caleb Williams. Tonight we break it all down and we do it live. We go live Monday through Friday like this very show right here. 8 p.m. Eastern. We additionally go live when big news breaks like we did before this show today when Brock Purdy signed his extension and I went live on that topic alone. So there's 2 live streams already today. So why haven't you subscribed yet? Why are you just waiting for the show to pop up and you click in? Hit the subscribe, hit the bell notification. I've already done 2 live streams today alone. Tonight we go live because we go live at midnight Eastern almost every single night. See you tonight on the Graveyard Show. Thank you for the 50 gifted memberships as well, BBQ, you monster.
What is that smell? Someone needs me.
Help! Help! I'm going to lose my fantasy week! Somebody help! Call the Scat Man!
I am Scatman. Who needs my help? Now it's time to go pick up your mother.
Go ahead.
Getting land. Land.
Your Bijan card has been revoked.